But Burdine does finish translating this passage, and then she hands it over to Richard. And the journal passage starts by stating Wizard's third rule very matter-of-factly, in your face. We've kind of danced around it, but passion rules reason. That's what it is. And it goes on to say that war is raging, both sides believe they are following reason, but he fears it is actually passion. It mentions Ulrich Rahl proposing a solution and brings up the towers being the only thing that's going to save them from the Dream Walkers.
I mean, that's a pretty powerful concept. It's like, look, both sides, they both think that they're following reason, but both sides are following passion, and it's not going to lead to anything good. And without going too deep, I think that can apply to a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, even going, the farther we go here in a second, I was
oh,
yep, okay.
It's very pointed.
Yeah, it is.
And it's kind of like the Wizard's first rule in a way that, one person will use it, assuming they're not the subject of it.
Right.
And the other person can use it, assuming they're not the subject of it. And they may very well be. They may very well be, but they would never either know that or admit that.
I think
it's like a two-way rule. Just because you're the one who knows it doesn't mean that you're safe from it.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to keep your mind open and look at the other side of it, no matter which side you're on, and be able to, I don't know, absorb
reason.
that. Because if you can't, then it's passion. And so a lot of people fall victim to it because they think they're right. So,
because they're passionate.
Yeah, but they think it's reason because they know it, but they don't think. Yeah, okay, we'll keep going. Anyways, the man writing the journal feels for all the wizards that will die for reason in the towers, but claims it's going to be worse than violating the third rule. So there will be worse that happens if they don't fucking die in those towers to stop the Dreamwalkers. For the first time, Richard actually thinks of these wizards as real people. Like, he stood in those towers and he was like, yeah, wizards died, ha! Here's a handful of their bone powder. But he didn't realize that they had friends and lives, and people missed them when they left.
Yeah. Yeah, and doesn't it mention the bones that have been sitting there for like thousands of years? Even just the guy in there with him. When it said that, it struck me as like, he has been here throughout Richard's entire life. And Zed's.
Yeah.
Hell, maybe even Nathan's. Like, he has been there for thousands of years. Just this book just sitting there waiting to be opened and learned from.
Yeah.
And like lifetimes have passed. And then, wow, that guy probably had his own too.
Yeah.
Well, obviously he did, but that was kind of the point.
Yeah, well, and that's what Richard said. Like, this man is coming to life through this journal, and so are all the other people that he touched and all of that. And so, yeah, it's like a moment. It's a whole fucking moment. And after reading the passage, Richard realizes that not having Zed or Nathan there to explain the rule to him is a little bit of a disadvantage, so he tries to work it out for himself. He had gone down to ask some of the people leaving town what the deal was. Why were they fucking leaving? A couple days ago, and they informed him that he was a terrible fucking monster who abducted and raped women, left them wandering senseless and naked in the street, and they ended up miscarrying his abominations, and he was kidnapping children to make slaves of them, and just being a real all-around shit. So...
Oh, am I?
Yeah. They all have the balls to say this to his face because they know that he's trying to keep up a good image, so he would never do this in the streets. But it's like a secret thing behind doors that he does.
But at the same time, either that or don't, and like, okay, maybe just because it's Richard, but any other time in the history of ever, if you're like, hey, king, hey, fuck you, you would probably die. And that would not be uncommon because you don't say that to the king.
Yeah, no, I would assume that... No, I mean, granted, I don't know what Kaylin would have done if somebody just said fuck you to her. Because she doesn't seem like the type of person who would punish somebody for just being like, hey, fuck you, Mother Confessor. Because people did treat her like shit, kind of, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's an exercise of the wizard's third rule. These people are saying all sorts of nasty shit to Richard, and he's just like...
What the hell?
And then does nothing.
But it did seem, a little bit parallel to some stuff going on in today's society,
Mm-hmm.
where people just, make up rumors and believe that they are right because they heard somebody say it to somebody, or I know my second cousin told me this to my face, so it's true for sure. And it also gets really intermeshed because Richard realizes that this isn't a super great example, though, because it also links back to the wizard's first rule, which is people are stupid, so they'll believe anything just because they, want it to be true or are afraid it is. So both those things can be kind of like interlocked.
Yeah,
in a
they're
way.
not mutually exclusive.
Right, and then there's also the second one, which is, the worst intentions the worst results come from the best intentions. What is it? What's the wording?
The best intentions can have the worst results, I think.
Yeah, it's
something like that.
It's that.
Just because you tried doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah, so all of this shit can kind of like bang off of each other, and it does get real confusing, I feel like. Like, I get the concepts. They're very simple concepts to get, but it's very hard to pick out a exact instance of one or the other, I guess. So I understand why Richard specifically is having an issue, but he comes up with a very good example. And that's a mother who can't swim diving into a river to save her child and drowning herself even though the rescue boats were coming. And he saw this when he was, back in Heartland Woods. And she just had to wait. If she would have just waited, everybody would have been fine. But now her kid grew up without a mom because her passion ruled her reason.
Yeah, and I mean, that is a pretty good example because obviously the mother is like, well, I'm going to save my child. That's not a bad thing. That's not a selfish thing. I'm going to go save my kid. But because she wasn't using her reason, it ended up biting her in the ass. And, she died and her child had to grow up without a mom, which is terrible.
Yeah.
Almost, I mean, it's not a punishment per se, but it is, well, a consequence of violating the wizard's third rule.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, and I guess I just thought this was interesting because we know that your mom doesn't know how to swim.
That's right. She does not know how to swim. That's why me and my brothers had to take swimming lessons.
I was going to say, but
so we could swim really good.
She made sure you knew how to swim so she wasn't stuck in a situation like this.
That's true. She had it planned out.
Good on your mom.
She knew since she was little, she's like, okay, so I'm going to have at least 3 sons who could swim really, really well.
Really well.
So my chances of drowning are cut down drastically.
Yeah.
And to date, not drowned.
Yeah.
So far the plan's working.
Yeah.
Good on you, Mom. Love you. And thanks for the swimming lessons, by the way.
So Rybish arrives in the room and Richard asks how soon he can get some men together to look for Kaylin. Because Kaylin,
How soon?
my fiance, and he's like, yeah, the mother confessor. He's like, God damn it. Yeah, her. A spell is broken.
Yeah.
So now everyone knows who she is. So she's in kind of a weird spot. I don't know if it's dangerous. We gotta go fucking find her. And Rybish is like, dude, all the men are always ready. Like, let's go.
I've literally just been waiting for you to stop speaking for me to tell you that they were ready.
Yeah, we can go.
I walked in here. They were ready.
Why are we still in here?
As far as we're concerned, Lord Rawl, you're late.
We could still be walking.
Let's get with it, man.
We could walk down there while
Why
we have
are we
this
even
conversation.
standing here? Let's go!
Richard decides that...
He starts yelling at Richard. Move your ass! What are you doing?
Yeah. What's
Think you get a free pass because you're the Lord Rawl? No way!
Up. Richard has decided...
Knees to chest. Sorry. I'm done now. I just wanted to say that.
Richard has decided that half the troops, that's 100,000 troops, are going to go look for Kaylin. That's half the defense of the town, well, city, that he has just taken over because he has such a big force in the city. You know?
Which means at least 200,000.
Yeah, and now he's taking half of that number out to go look, search party.
Well, that's of the utmost importance. It is, I think it's because it is so important that he finds Kaylin because she could be used for the other side as well.
Well, and
Not that
he
she's
could
being
use
used
her...
for this side,
Yeah.
just like, plus, fiance.
Yeah, and
So-
he could use her expertise. Fiance, she's a big symbol for the Midlands.
That's what it is. It's wrapping his decision up in the reasons why Kaelin shouldn't be caught by the other side. But I think ultimately, even though this does happen to be a passionate choice, it is also a reasonable one.
Yeah.
In this instance, for Richard, it works out perfectly.
Yes. His thought process is also they're going to be quick and they're not going to miss her because they're going to be able to spread out real far and cover a lot of ground real quick.
Right. It says if we sent less men, he explains that they could miss her by like 50 miles, and that would be a real bummer. So,
Yeah.
I got onto a little train of thought earlier, and I don't have an exact answer, but I was checking out SOTmapproject.com, and I wanted to know if there was a scale. Sadly, there is not. But if you guys wanted to check out the entire map of the Sword of Truth world,
Like
you
scale,
should check that out.
I will say, I think it would be very hard to make a scale. I don't think it was for lack of trying.
Yeah. And so, but you should go to SOTmapproject.com and you can see the whole thing. And it's awesome. Sean Bachman and his team were working on that. Team, I'm not, well, I wanted to include you because I don't know all of their names. And I know there was a group of people who worked very hard on it. But what I was looking for was a scale. I was curious because what I found out today, or at least kind of tried to figure, is that 100,000 men standing roughly 3 feet wide covers, well, 300,000 feet, which translates to about 57 miles if they interlocked arms from left to right.
While he was doing this, I went, "You math."
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So I checked the map, and we have no idea how wide Dahara is. There's an undrawn line to the right-hand side, so it could go on for who knows how far. But that was Dahara, because I was initially wrong. They're in Aidendrill, so anywhere between the two sets of mountains south, pretty much, and a little bit to the southwest. And I was trying to figure out about how wide that would be, because, in theory, with 100,000 men, they could literally span one mountain range to the next and walk south. And the whole reason that I got onto this train of thought was because of Richard in the library. He's looking for a book. You don't just scatter to find your book. No, you go from one end to the other of every single shelf and every single stack of books, and eventually you'll find the one that you're looking for. So it would make sense that if Richard was like, we don't have time, basically half the army is going to run from the top of the country to the south country, and we're going to find her. That would be the most effective way, in my opinion. And in theory, he could do that with 100,000 guys.
Oh, yeah. And I was even saying that they're not really looking for her to be like a dead body in a field. So, like, usually when you see a dead body in a field, or, like, not see one, but when they're looking for one that could be in there, they link arms and stand pretty closely. They may not be standing so close together in this instance.
So they could go even wider.
Right, because they're looking for Kaelin to be with a group of people, or at least a couple people, and hopefully not dead. So
that would be a plus. Yeah. Well, yeah, she's with a group of people last known traveling. Now, Richard suspects something may have gone wrong, so we don't really know what we're looking for. A group of people traveling, a group of maybe dead bodies in a field. Who knows?
Well, and he also assumes Gratch is with him because he figures he can't do anything more for protection if he goes to Kaelin right now. Which, in my head, I was like, Mariz with, but he doesn't know if Gratch isn't with her.
Right. So, he couldn't even tell them accurately what it is they're supposed to be looking for. What we know, they're not going to find.
Right, exactly. Well, and also because she was captured and put in a Radahan or whatever.
Yeah, well, yeah, all that.
Richard also makes the decision that he has to stay at the palace. That way, he's there when she arrives. He's not going to miss her by, like, half a mile or some shit and then have to double back and waste even more fucking time. He can also help Berdine keep translating, and